Hey everybody, here's the tutorial that I said I'd create for the program with the math operations. As I'm going through this, I want you to keep in mind the picture that we had on the board of the main method and the 5 methods and how information was flowing to each one. And the reason I want you to picture that is I think it's going to make more sense if you can visually see how information is going to be passed and how information is going to be received by the methods. I believe in class we had the isNumeric or the isNumber method as a Boolean. I've actually returned it now as a double, I believe. So we'll look at that, and I'll tell you why as we go through it. So we've set up our scanner, and we know with NetBeans we just do a couple of different things. We set up our scanner. It doesn't go at the very top, and actually goes after our package name. So import java.util.scanner. Down here, I've also set up my scanner. Scanner input equals new scanner. I've set up 2 double variables, and if you think back to grade 11, you can define or initialize 2 variables on the same line. If they are of the same type, and coding conventions would say they've got to be related, not just the same type. Here I am having the user enter their first number. So we've got an input string enter 1. So here I'm initializing and assigning a value, so whatever they type in. And what I'm going to do is take this num1, which I defined over here, it's going to equal whatever this method returns. So whatever this method returns is going to be assigned to the value num1. Probably best if we go down and we look at num1 for a moment. Sorry, isNumber. Here's the isNum. So public static double isNum. I'm passing down the string, whatever they entered. First thing I want you to notice is this says enter, not enter 1. It doesn't have to be the same thing that you pass down. We talked briefly about how variables in methods are for that method only and aren't universal. They're not public variables, they are private variables for that method. So let me get back down to this isNum. I've got all this code, and this is a good habit to get into, and you will need to get into documenting your methods. So the purpose of this method is to check to see if the input is a number. The precondition, enter, this variable, has a value. It has to have a value. Post, so when this is done, if the input is a number, it is converted to a number and passed back. If the input is not a number, right now I'm going to return a 0. I know you might say, well, what if they actually want to enter a 0? Well, that'll still work. We'll still get a 0 value. But if they enter text or anything right now, we're going to return a 0 value. You could put an if statement later on saying, hey, it didn't work. But until we kind of get into the idea of looping again, we're just going to do it this way. We've got our variables here. Double num. Just a double variable. Boolean isNum equals true. Very much like our try catch that we used on the first day. So nothing new here. I put in enter, which is the value that they've entered and that we've passed down to this method. We are trying to catch it. If it is true, we're going to change it. If not, we're going to say this is not a number. I'm returning a value of 0, and then num equals 0. Have to use this return num. I want to return whatever this value is. So this value right here, whether it is actually a number or whether it's going to be a 0 because they messed up, it gets returned back to our main method. If they type in a 6 is going to be in this spot here. We're going to go back up, and 6 gets assigned to num1. We repeat that exact same step now with the second number. So string enter 2 as our new variable equals input next line. Num2 equals isNum, so it's calling the method to check if it's a number. And whatever it returns, or whatever it comes up with, gets returned, and we have that return line, gets returned and gets assigned to the variable num2. The rest of it is what we had working in class. We have our addition method, we have our subtraction method, our multiplication method, and I've added this little if statement so I don't get an error. So if num2 does not equal 0, go ahead and divide it. We can't do division by 0. If we do division by 0, we get an error in our program. To each method, I've also added the documentation. So defining what the method's going to do, it's going to add two numbers together. Pre-condition, num1 and num2 are doubles, and they have to have values. They can't be null. They can't have nothing. They can have a 0, that's a value, but they can't be nothing. And post, it's going to display the answer. So if I run my program, and now I look down here, I'm going to type in a number, 8. I'm going to type in a number, 6, and I do all my math. If I run my program again, and I enter some text, it says this is not a number returning a value of 0. Enter text. This is not a number returning a value of 0. So I got two zeros. Notice I don't get my division. Let's do another test here, another case. If I enter a 6 and enter text, this is not a number returning a value of 0. Okay, so it's just going to use 0 as that value. So I'm hoping that that helps, hoping that clears things up with how to use some of these methods and how information gets passed. Now some of you may really want to stick with the idea of the isNumber method being a Boolean value. And I suggest go for it, try it, and see what happens. It's just going to change your code and kind of what your method is going to do. By passing up, or by using it as a Boolean value, you're going to have to do your try-catch in your main method. So hopefully this makes sense. The code will be available, so I'll have some printouts. Actually, I might even put it in my G drive so you can access it from there. Use it as a reference. Don't copy and paste it. It's easy to copy and paste and go, yeah, okay, now I get it. I get what we're doing. I think it's going to be so important that you actually type in the code into your own program and get your program working. Something to keep straight, and as it gets tricky, are all the variables that we're using that are very, very similar, and some of the variable names and some of the method names that are similar. Keep those straight, help each other out through this one, and I think once you have this as a model, the other two programs will hopefully make a little more sense with how information is flowing. So this is a great model for how the information goes from one main method to the other methods, and then we can figure out how we can do the function or do the problem solving or what the program is actually asking us to do. So give it a try. Program will be in my G drive, and I'll probably have some printouts there for you too.